So I'm wanting to do a review. It's my first ever review of the FreshRoast +8 coffee bean with some green coffee beans that I got. My wife calls it my coffee snobbery, and that's okay. But anyway, got some Papua New Guinea AA Arokara wet processed 1 pound with a FreshRoast. And I gotta tell you, I used to do this with a pot and a pan, and that works really well. But you have to keep the beans moving, and there are lots of little things that go on with it that you have to do. This, however, I've had for a couple of years, and it is fantastic for a few reasons, and I'll show you why in a little bit. So if you see, I've already got the green beans. In the roaster, and I fill it up to that line for a couple reasons. If you overfill it, the bottom will burn, and if you underfill it, you'll end up just making, you kind of bake the beans so all the oil comes out, and it tastes horrible. It's very dry and not a good thing. So anyway, got it right here. The cool thing with this FreshRoast +8 is that it has a timer. Normally you can listen and you wait for what sounds like popcorn popping, but with the timer you just kind of set it and forget it, and you get the same type of beans all the time. The other piece that I have out here is a metal colander, and that's so it cools off quickly. It's like any type of cooking where the residual heat just keeps baking everything, and it over roasts if you don't cool it off quickly. And I do this outside because there's a crap load of smoke that comes out. So anyway, we'll get started here. Now I've already pre-measured this. Basically you just use a few ounces, and in this coffee roaster, if you get it just below that silver band, you'll pretty much have it right every time. I'm setting this for about 6 minutes to see where it goes, and we may have to adjust it. So I'm just turning the timer on. Now, one thing about this you'll notice is that the beans are always moving. That's because the blower in this goes straight up through the center. And if you see that if you put too many beans in, they will not move, and that'll end up scorching the coffee on the bottom. So you don't want to have that. The other part of this is that the beans actually expand while they're roasting. So if you overfill it, you'll end up blowing the top off. And just watch the color on the beans, and you'll see they should start to turn a little bit of a brown, and they'll just change colors all the way through a nice dark. I normally like to stop mine at about a city roast, which is just after the second crack, I believe. You'll hear it in a minute. Now I will tell you, it's kind of chilly out here today, about 50 degrees, and this works a little bit faster on hot days and cooler on cold ones. I like the colder days because you can cool the beans off quickly, but it's a little trickier sometimes. And ideally you'd want to do it inside, but there's a lot of smoke and I don't want to basically set off my alarms. And right now though, no smoke at all, but we haven't gotten to the first crack either. And if you notice, the colors are starting to change already. This is about the halfway point, and they haven't started popping yet, or I haven't heard the cracks yet. It sounds like popcorn whenever it starts to go, but I haven't heard that yet. So this would be a very, very, very ultralight roast you would never see. Yeah, they haven't started popping yet, so it's been about 3 minutes. Don't know if you could hear that, but there's some popping going on now. And right now we're just watching the color, which you see is an even brown. This is actually a good light roast right now. Smells wonderful. That's the popping. Right now it's doing the second crack. You can barely hear it from outside because of the machine noise, but you can still hear it. So far we're at 8 minutes. And now the popping's really going. And if you notice, it's not quite doubled in size, but volume's definitely gone up. And that looks like it's about done, so we're turning off. So it looks like the coffee's done. Got a nice bit of steam coming off of it. Look at the beans. They smell delicious. Got to pour these over into the colander. Alright, and we have beans. I use a metal colander on this for a few reasons. One, I like to cool them off very quickly. So since it's cool out here, you just kind of shake it around. The other, if you notice, there's a little bit of chaff in there. Chaff, whatever. However you pronounce that. Just a little bit of the skins flake off a little bit. Yeah, there, you just kind of see. This helps get rid of the rest of them. Now, one thing about this machine that I love is that since it blows air, it actually takes all the skins off the machine and puts them in a nice little convenient clean out area for you. That alone is worth not using a pot and pan just for the shaft. And you look, you just get gorgeous beans. Now, one thing about these, if you notice, they're all pretty uniform in color. The camera doesn't show that quite as well, but they are pretty much almost exactly what you would get from the grocery store. The only difference is they are far, far, far better, just because you made it, and that's awesome. Anyway, that's the end of my that's about it for my review of the Berman FreshRoast Plus 8. Berman FreshRoast Plus 8. There are several places to buy green beans. Most are in a very, very good price range, even for the pricier beans. And that's about it. Now, one thing you do want to take for, you have to let these cool off, and I always store them in a glass container. And that's a glass container just so it doesn't have anything that tastes weird. And that's about it. So with that, thank you so much, and hope you have a wonderful day.